We are back. Same witness again. Defense is still up. With couples, each other is regularly the beneficiary of the others, and it can be done life insurance for the whole family's security. There's also life insurance policies for the children, too. Ana Walshe was the beneficiary for the children's life insurance. Brian Walsh kept being denied for his life insurance. After Brian Walsh was constantly denied, Ana applied. The witness says that they're the one that probably suggested Ana reply. They're like a broker, right? They're going to try to get a sale. Brian Walsh never contacted about the life insurance policy or how to take out money from it or anything like that. Next up is Davis Gould. Yes, that's his real name. He works at the crime lab. They go through his credentials. They show the Volvo, which he examined. He did a sketch and took notes. There was hair on an exterior passenger door handle. There were 2 child safety seats, red-brown stains on the front visors. There were multiple exam-style gloves in the car, 2 on the floor, 16 gloves in the center console, and a box in the glove box. The cover-up was not done well, I'll put it that way. They searched for blood. Sometimes beans or cauliflower can give a false positive, so you heard it here. If there's a blood stain on your floor, you need to hide from the police. Cook a big pot of beans and accidentally dump it, and they won't be able to tell, maybe. I didn't know about beans. Driver's side seat controls, passenger floor mat, and third row passenger seat back side, and the mats in the back all tested positive for blood. Took samples from the car. Hair from the passenger door and areas screened positive from blood as well, where samples were taken. He also responded to trash collection and a recycle location. They show photos of the center's entrance, a photo of a pile of trash that was separated, and then they start going through bag contents. Green boots, jacket with red-brown stains, black purse with red-brown stains, car keys, socks, headphones. And I want to be clear here. When you say red-brown stains, you might be thinking red-brown stains. At certain points, some of this looks very red. Red. Raw steak red. Like, it's not just like very old dried, put it that way. There's tissues with stains. There's a white bathrobe with stains in the bag 3. Bag 4 was slippers and hairs with red-brown stains. A wristwatch. Looks like a wad of hair mixed with blood on the bottom of the slippers. Now they show pieces of rug with red-brown stains. 6th bag was a rug with red-brown stains along with safety goggles and the Tyvek suit. More rug images of Tyvek suit. 7th bag was hydrogen peroxide in an ice pack. Because remember, he hurt himself on his hands. They go back to show another image of the blood with a lot of red-brown stains and apparent tissue, appearing to be human skin. You have a weak stomach. Do not go back and watch today's trial. 8th bag had tape, hammer, axe, wire snips, and a hacksaw with red-brown stains. 10th bag was pieces of a tarp taped together, and inside were protective booties for shoes. A bag containing insulation and the tarp. They explain how the items are put into their system. They explain the numbers the swabs got. They go through the numbers for the items. State says they want to show him some of these items, and they approach the bench. They have a bunch of evidence bags actually like lined up on one side of the courtroom, and it's a sight, really. I don't know why they didn't have a better system. It's getting walked from one side of the courtroom individually across all the way, and then to the witness one by one, 2 by 2 at certain points. Given the bag, opens up, identifies it, doesn't take it out, and they want it admitted. The judge explains that these will all actually go back to the jury room, and the jury will be given gloves, and they can take it out of the bag then. There's the COVID card, keys and bracelet, black jacket, socks, bracelet, purse, wallet, green boots, bracelet, white towel, and another white towel. There's a sidebar breaking it up, and we're back with a white bathrobe with red stains, dark gray slippers with red-brown stains, and trace materials, leather strapped watch, apparent hairs with red-brown stains, pair of slippers with red-brown stains, sponge with a wipe through it, Tyvek suit, hand towel with red-brown stains. And the defense is up for cross. They ask about preserving the integrity of the evidence and how they put it onto a white sheet at the scene. He doesn't know anything about the trash compactor. They need to try to make sure that things don't transfer between items to the best of their ability once found. He doesn't know how the items were moved around before he arrived. Items can transfer between each other, that the stuff on them. Hairs on the slippers could have transferred to something else. The slippers were a really bad look because it like looked like a clump of hair, like almost like you stepped on someone. So like I understand where they're trying to like, hey, that might not have originally been there. He can't say the manner of how the stains actually got on the items. It might have, basically they're trying to word it like, hey, maybe these things didn't all have stains when they were put in and it transferred. Because if not, it looks like everything was stained red, right? Like not literally, but if everything had the stains on it when they were put in, it was everywhere. Um, they decided what was part of the case partly by the red brown stains. The first items were actually put directly on the warehouse floor. He doesn't know what was on that warehouse floor. The items collected after were taken to the lab. He did not work after transferring them to the lab. There's an approach, and they just send the jury home. Tomorrow's a full day. Friday will be shorter, and the jury leaves. Now, this is where things get kind of interesting. The defense hasn't filed a written opposition to the state not wanting to allow the guilty pleas. So remember, he pled guilty to lying. He pled guilty to dismemberment. The jury doesn't know that. The judge asks what relevance does his plea have to the fact finding for the jury. She's afraid if she includes he pled guilty, the jury might consider punishments. So, like, there's nothing stopping Brian from saying he did these things. They want to stop him from saying he pled to it. Like, what is the benefit for the jury in fact finding by knowing he pled and didn't just admit to it, The defense obviously wants it in because like they wanted to be like, look, before the trial started, he admitted to this because he did that, but he didn't do the other thing. That's what the defense is wanting, right? And then they talk about the text messages with William Fastow. That is the man that Ana was sleeping with. And the defense, because like they were going to restrict them, and then they didn't want him in, and then the judge says they have to be in because remember, Brian kept mentioning she knew that Ana was texting William Fastow that night, and she was, but the question is, how did he know? And then now that's into the jury. They have to talk about it. And then the contents of those texts around that time, because Brian knew about them, is now important. And the defense says they want all the messages in. Seemed to be a surprise to the judge, but hey, it's their case, right? There are some faces and some photos and names that'll be blurred. And the judge wants to make sure that they're not talking about blurring the photo Ana Walshe sent at 10:07 p.m. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe that is the exact time that Brian talked about her, around the time that Brian talked about her messaging William. The way they're talking about it being a photo and not blurring that, I am guessing it's going to be, because the judge previously said the messages she was sending weren't something a husband might want sent from his wife to another man. Might be a little risque. And the defense wants it all in, so what else is in there? But there's something else that they talk about. I'm not sure exactly what it is. They all need to research for Friday, and that's it for today. So what does the defense do, right? The defense is now saying, look, all of these, I'm assuming, sexually charged messages between Ana and William Fastow are now coming in, right? Why? How would that go against the jealous husband narrative? But what if the theory in my back of my head I had on like day 2, what if the defense incorporates it? What if they're like, okay, we are caught that he knew about the affair, right? Or the jury at least is going to think that he knew about the affair. So how do we play defense that he's not a jealous husband? There is nothing stopping Brian from testifying and saying he knew about them sleeping together, and he approved of it. It was something they were into as a couple. There is nothing stopping Brian from doing that if he gets on the stand. If the option is between that or the jury automatically thinking he's a jealous husband who found out his wife is cheating, they might go that route. They might try to incorporate it into the defense and then just say he was okay with it and she just happened to die. Now remember, day two, where my mind is at with the evidence I had seen, the way things are worded, and just working off what I know from the trial, was that he might have actually been okay with it. I was already on board with that as something that's a possibility, but then he thinks because of her not being able to make it back to Christmas, and maybe some of the other messages she's sending, maybe he thinks she's actually going to leave him when he goes to prison. Or it got in the back of his head, what if I don't get probation, which is what he wanted? What if I get multiple years? She'll leave me and be with him. And then his jealousy all came to a head on the first. That was my theory, pretty much, on the second day. And it might be something like that might get incorporated into the defense. I honestly think that might be one of the best shots of the defense. I don't think with all the William Fastow emails put in, they can try to pretend Brian didn't know that she was cheating. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that is going to work on a jury. I think it still might not work. The theory I thought they'd go with, the theory I thought of might not work, but I think it's better than trying to convince a jury he didn't know. But let me know your theories in the comments. Very interesting case, to say the least. Very interesting. And I get surprised by what this defense is doing, it seems like every single day. Next up is Peter Capozzoli. Kind of looked like Santa Claus at a first glance to me. He's the owner of Cohasset Imports, a used car dealership. He rents a property near his dealership. The Walshes leased from him. This is where Brian Walshe was living. He saw Brian once a month because he's the one who brought the check. He saw Ana sometimes. The witness would do repairs to the property. He did some small repairs, had to call a technician for the AC, but someone had flipped a switch. He had some things stored in the basement. He was actually in the Caribbean during the New Year's, and Brian Walshe called him to ask if he had security for his building because his wife went missing. He gave Brian a name of someone north of them who might have security. They have the witness on the they give the witness the lease, and the tenant is listed as Ana Walshe. They had him a photograph of Ana in the living room. This is the one they obviously cropped. It looks like she's doing a yoga pose, but she's playing with the kids. It was the only room with a rug, only room with a fireplace. Again, the rug, I think that's going to be important. I think they're going to have found it maybe, or found fibers. It was a partially furnished place and then rented to the Walshes, which would explain why he knew about the rug. Defense is up. The basement wasn't furnished and it was unheated, just a cement floor. The basement had access to the outside. Now, okay, true, I get all that. How does that part help the defense? I don't know. The lease was in Ana Walshe's name. Diana paid the first 6 months at one time. The family indicated they planned to move to DC. They only wanted a 3-month lease, and Diana might take over after they leave. He only agreed to do a 6-month lease, and even though Brian physically gave the check, it was still paid by Diana. The Walshes didn't have to fix things like leaky faucets. A large hole in the ceiling would probably be the Walshes' responsibility, if not due to regular wear and tear. He saw Brian and Ana just a few times, so he wasn't like a common person around them. Next up is someone who's going to cause the defense some issues with this is probably the witness that is the worst for the defense so far. Other than, of course, the searches. Because their defense is, remember, yes, he did all the things, but he didn't kill her, right? This is Mark Silvaghi. He sells life insurance for New York Life. Brian was a client, he met Ana through Brian. He tried to sell Brian and Ana, he sold Brian and Ana life insurance policies. We'll get to it where only Ana got it, but, they were shopping as a couple. $1 million term and a $250,000 whole life policy. They submit the documents, and the life insurance company got access to her medical records. The beneficiary is Brian Walshe. Ana had no issues getting the life insurance. They approach the bench, and they just send the jury out. Because remember, this guy is damaging to the defense. They were going to object to so much, might as well get it all handled while the jury's out. They give the witness Ana Walshe's health history. The health determines health insurance costs. She received excellent health rating. She received a top level health rating. They also do a telephone interview about your health. They get blood, urine, physical testing. Someone comes to see you, and it was all voice signed by Ana Walshe. The defense is up. It was filled out over a telephone interview, not recorded by a doctor. No medical records are attached to this form, at least. The judge asks about the blood, the urine, the medical records release. All those records go to the underwriter. This isn't someone who deals with the actual records themselves, just the results. The judge won't let it in at this time, maybe on rebuttal through the doctor's medical records, but the prosecution will be allowed to ask about her medical rating they got from those records, because that was already submitted into evidence, because the rating is actually listed on the life insurance policy itself that the defense did not object to. I don't know if the defense missed it, but there is, to give you an idea for the defense right now, they're just being told a document is going in that says she is as healthy as this life insurance company can ever rate someone. It's like 37 tiers, and she's at the top. That's not good for suddenly died. The jury gets brought back in. The witness explains the health rating, which is determined based on multiple health records, your job, dangerous activities. The data is brought in through doctors as well. Ana's rating was the healthiest you could receive. They did it through blood, urine, vitals, blood pressure, more. Cross is up. So they got to try to destroy that health rating a little bit, right, in the jury's mind. Health writing is from underwriting. He doesn't know if a person doing it is a doctor. A doctor might not have given the rating. This assessment was in February 2021, and they didn't follow up on her health after that, so it's almost a year old. Witness doesn't know everything they look for when determining this rating. The healthier you are, the less you pay. It's better to be healthy physically. They ask if you have any high-risk activities, and they only know about high-risk behavior because you talk about it. So what high-risk behavior are they going to say Ana had, right? Because, I mean, sure, saying, well, only if you ask about it, well, did she do anything high-risk? We haven't heard that. The beneficiary is normally the spouse. That's just common. Life insurance is a type of financial planning. Term life insurances can be changed into other types. You can borrow off a whole life policy. Only Ana could take a loan off that policy. Talk of if spouses could... Do spouses ever question about whole life policies in a divorce and how a divorce would affect it? There's a lot here. Has he discussed it with other clients? He got Brian Walsh from a lead. Defense asks at first if Brian wanted the insurance. The state objects, and there's a sidebar. Mr. Walsh applied and was rejected due to a pending federal case. He tried to get other companies and colleagues to find something that would take Brian. When they didn't work, they moved on to Ana getting a policy. But this question got a sustained objection. While Brian Walsh applied for life insurance, he isn't sure if Ana applied for life insurance simultaneously. Defense tried to say Ana's life insurance was an afterthought with a sustained objection. There's a sidebar. He works with couples commonly. Brian Walsh was repeatedly denied. Defense asked if Brian Walsh gave you contacts to friends and colleagues, and there's an objection. And the judge knows this is going to be bad. So the judge just says time for lunch, right? So I think we're going to have lunch. I'm assuming, I might be wrong, I think we're going to come back. They're probably going to have a discussion about how this is going to go before they bring the jury in, and it'll continue from there. I want to begin my day 3 coverage by saying I personally did some Googling because there was some defense argument about Google, and I searched things like how to dispose of a body, and it does in fact pull up such things as burying in a cemetery, but almost all results are not legal options, at least at this time. Google searches are constantly changing, but in my opinion, there was probably no reason to search the word murder to get the searches done that he was doing. I just don't think it was needed. Now, for the background image today, I have decided one of multiple that were released previously by law enforcement that show him on surveillance footage. And as you can see here, he is masked up, and you get to see a little bit of the cart here. It's not the best footage, but you can see it is a pile of stuff in that cart, and he is checking out. Now, court starts with the defense being against showing a photo the prosecution wants to put in. It is a carpet, at least it's involved in it, and they say the image is inflammatory. There are better ways to crop it. They are willing to stipulate the carpet was originally in the Walshe home. So this carpet, the photo will be talked about later, but the carpet's at some point going to come into play. The judge wants the state to edit out the children because it was Ana playing with the children. The defense doesn't like how it would look with the children edited out, but the judge says the state gets to present their case so they can use the photo. So basically, the defense is like, look, if it's edited, it'll look weird with the kids out of it. It's still prejudicial, and the judge is like, they can use it. It's part of their case. The judge talks of drawing the line in the William Fastow emails, which makes me think there's some things in there that maybe the public, they don't think should hear. The judge mentions a text of Ana saying, I shouldn't be giving parenting advice. My life is completely messed up. The judge wants them to cut a bunch of child discussions from what the jury sees. The judge mentions Brian Walshe repeatedly saying Ana sent a message to William Fastow when he was being interviewed. And this happened right around the time the kids went to bed. And that was actually sent at 10:07. So Brian knew that Ana was sending messages to William, who she was having an affair with. And the judge says, so either he knew because he saw her do it, and she says, which you could argue that was unlikely given the other contents of the evening texts. If Ana was having an affair, would you be showing your husband the texts you have been sending? And the answer is maybe. If you haven't watched my day 2 video, I have a theory I've gotten by watching this case, and it fits that theory that yes, Brian very well might be getting to see these messages because maybe he's into them. Again, a theory neither side is putting out right now, but something that I just feel from the evidence, personal opinion. We don't know. Again, I love your theories. Let me know in the comments. The other inference that other than Brian saw her sending them is that Brian also said, I am getting her messages. The jury can draw things from that. So basically they're saying, listen, the jury might be able to say, he was saying, I am getting her messages because he was using something to access iMessage, and he was therefore seeing it without Ana knowing. That's kind of where the judge, I think, was going. But the evidence from the 7th and 8th can come in directly focused on him saying he saw the message, and the judge cut off the iMessenger argument yesterday because they want all of that to be something for the jury instead of it being something argued in court. I guess that'll be a decision for the jury. Okay. The judge hasn't given the jury a consciousness of guilt instruction. She wants to make sure she's correct, that both sides are making sure to say the user did these searches instead of the defendant. Because remember, they're not saying Brian did the searches, at least yet. I don't think they have. It's user. But the defense muddied the water by saying the defendant lied in the opening. Basically, the judge is saying as soon as actual evidence is presented, proving that Brian lied, because the opening statements aren't evidence, once that happens, the instruction will be given by her own discretion, or counsel can ask for it ahead of time. The defense will be objecting to the instruction once given, and they want to see the instruction ahead of time, and there is a long sidebar. I'm assuming it went beyond just that instruction. It was rather long. They bring up the same detective from yesterday, the one who did the investigation into the laptop. Defense is back up asking if it contains 3,677 records. The witness explains technically half that because it's duplicated. The defense asks how many pages, so they get him a copy. The searches on the iPad mini were actually originated from the gray MacBook. More explanations of how the data can show if someone viewed a web page multiple times. We're kind of working back to where we were because they have to remind the jury of what was at the end of yesterday, I think, basically. The defense says there is nothing to show to the jury that it is duplicated if they look at it, and he explained that's what he just testified to, and it shows in the book, if you look at it, that it is the same. There is nothing in the book saying something is a duplicate like a key. So yes, there is no word saying that the rest is duplicated. When you click on a website, it can redirect. There is nothing showing what in this data was from a redirect or what was clicked on purpose to that specific web page. The defense has the witness checking to verify a time frame without records on the first. The judge calls the attorneys up for a sidebar. He doesn't know if a reference to William Fastow is in the laptop data. There is no indication of anyone using the MacBook accessed Ana Walshe's iMessages. So that's important because the defense really doesn't want to paint the picture that Brian accessed her messages, found out about the affair, and he killed Ana, right? That's what they don't want. They want it to be that she suddenly, just inexplicably, without warning, died. That's what they're going with. If you forgot, that is the defense. She just died. What is disposal of dead bodies was a search without references to murder. Body disposal options, no reference to murder. Cool ways to be buried, no reference to murder. Above ground burial options, no reference to murder. Murder was not searched until about 6 hours after searches about dead bodies began. The murder searches started after how to dispose of a body parts quietly. There is a search query not using murder, and then he uses murder to get a different result. So yes, that is something that happened. I'm just pointing out at the beginning, I don't think it was necessary. Probably didn't change the results too much, in my opinion. But again, we can't go back. No one can go back and know what Google said that day. I don't think Google can even do that. There was a search to remove hard drives, but there was no evidence that hard drives and the devices turned over on the 6 were tampered with. Remember, that they mentioned this, the witness does, the devices he had soldered hard drives to the motherboard. Those same devices seized on the 6th were returned and seized again on the 8th. No evidence of the device hard drives were physically tampered with. There was a search. Can police get your search history without your computer? He's only aware of one phone they couldn't find. I believe that's what he was saying. It's on his phone. No search history seized was damaged or found that someone tried to change it. This witness did not go through the iPhones. A user can delete data to a point. They can tell if it was attempted to be deleted to a point. More talk of the Chase login, but he doesn't know what was on the page just from URL headers. There's a lot of talk about Chase, who accessed this. He went to multiple different financial things. Basically, they want to say it was normal for him to look up financial stuff, and it wasn't because he was planning a murder. Makes sense the defense would do that. There's also searches after the divorce search involving a diamond ring, reference to BlueNileDiamond.com. The ring searches were just before the divorce searches. The first divorce search is Katie Holmes' divorce. I don't know the relevance to that. Maybe someone knows. 21 minutes of divorce advice and over 15 days of extractions. The defense asks about searches to clean wood floors, and witness points out he remembers another word in that search string. So yeah, the defense is not mentioning that it was blood from wood floors. Wonder why they're not mentioning the blood. Defense asks about searches to clean a concrete floor. Those searches are over 3 days. On January 3rd, there's a search to mask a body smelling. There were no searches of masking a body smelling before the 3rd, but the witness makes sure to point out that stopping a body from smelling was something that was searched on the 1st. So from that, I think we can insinuate that her body was in the house for those days and was starting to smell. Redirect. The state points out the missing spouse divorce was on January 1st. That was for the search. He didn't get the MacBook on the 6th. The other devices don't have hard drives like traditional hard drives. They searched the home for devices with traditional hard drives, though. Next witness is William Foley. He works for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Basically, the reason this guy is here is to say, here is when Ana traveled, and it had all the records. The defense, I think, was asking if it's public records, but honestly, they were very quiet, and I think he said no. Basically, it was just the records of her leaving and entering the country, showing that she isn't just missing. Like, she didn't just leave the country. She's dead. Now, remember, we're probably going to get the defense admitting to the jury that she's dead, but that was in the opening, right? So obviously she didn't leave, but they're just reaffirming she didn't leave the country. Next up is Patrick Reardon, a canine handler. He explains about how he went around the house. They show photos, and he wasn't able to go inside the fenced area because of the Walsh's dog. Next up is Thomas Menino. He works for JetBlue as corporate security. This guy is basically just showing she booked a bunch of flights. She was refunded for the one she couldn't make on Christmas, but there was no shows after her death. After that, she was no shows every time. That's all that is. Next up is Greg Lawrence, police officer. He went to a location for a well-being check on the 4th of January. That's going to be the Walsh residence, where Brian Walsh was living. Brian Walsh told him that he wanted to file a missing persons report for his wife. This was not recorded. There were no worn body cams at the time, and they still don't wear them on that police force, so do not go to the town that Brian Walsh lived in. Brian told him that she took an Uber to catch a flight. Brian Walsh gave him information for a missing person report, and they show the form for the data Brian gave. The cross is up. He'd never been to Brian Walsh's house before. The reason the defense is doing that is very obviously it's not like there's domestic violence situations. The police aren't commonly there. They're it's just, for the jury, right? Sidebar, they have a morning break. Seth Fox is up. He is a subpoena compliance specialist with Lyft. He explains what Lyft is, how it works. They go through the record showing she didn't take any rides after the first. We have Alyssa Wimmer. She does the same for Uber. Next up is Michael Kenyon, police officer. He responded to the apartment complex on January 9th. Multiple agencies were near a trash compactor and a dumpster. They show pictures of the dumpster and the trash compactor. He was involved in transporting them. The defense has him confirm there was no trash in the compactor at that time. Next up is Amy Waterman. She's a trooper at the time of Ana's death. She went to Ana Walsh's address in December on the 7th. In D.C. on the 7th. How did it autocorrect December? That's confusing. But no, 7th of January. They got in through the garage, accessed the house. Basically, she just says, no one was there. There were men's clothes in the closet, toys in the kids' room. The defense asked about her wording of neat, and there's some talk of some paperwork that she found. They took some of it. Men's clothes were only found in the closet. Like, they were not, I don't know, they're not putting out that, like, the clothes got everywhere. It's like dirty. It's a very neat house. Nothing was wrong. We know she never made it back, right?